Okay, I promised myself this channel was to document things, and I have the worst morning face and hair and stuff, and I just don't care. I just got my HSK2 results, and there's three things I want to say. One, tests do not mean shit. Two, tests help you gauge your progress. And three, oh yes, it is that contradictory. And three, I'm really happy because my reading and listening scores have evened out. Um, on HSK1, I was so freaked out by the listening that I really practiced the listening, and my listening scores were much higher than my reading scores, and reading is my main goal, so I was really annoyed with myself for kind of losing sight of the goal and just going with the thing that was the most challenging. But in HSK2, I tried to even things out a little bit, and my scores are like 96%, 95%, so I'm most happy with that. Again, it doesn't mean my ability to produce these things, well, I mean, reading's not a production, it's a passive skill, but no, it means exactly what it means. My listening and reading skills have evened out, and I've noticed that in my practice too, but this kind of solidifies it. Number three is I am way too hard on myself. Way too hard on myself. And part of doing this channel is to document things, and part of it is to make me accountable for my actions. And I think part of the unintentionality of doing this project and the amount of fun that I'm having documenting things, talking with you guys, and creating the podcast and those interviews over on that side, on the audio side of things, is that there's a little bit of pressure that I have to keep going because there's no point in continuing on with this channel and those conversations on the podcast if I don't progress in the language. I have to keep getting better because that's the whole point. So I mean, the pressure is there to keep me going, but the pressure sometimes feels like it's a bit intense because I want to be there now. I remember when I lived in Taiwan. Hold on, I need to get rid of my computer. I was working on podcast editing, and the website for the website, ironically, for the HSK test was crashing because it became available at the same time, and everybody who goes to that, I'm sure, was trying to get their their scores, and it went down, and it took me about an hour to get in there and get my score. What was I saying? I switched modes and then I lost my idea. Oh, I'm too hard on myself. Okay, so after the HSK2 test, I had a massive revamp of my self-study strategies, and I don't regret doing that because from HSK2 to HSK3 there have been a lot of changes, and a lot of those changes actually return to, ironically, a lot of the things that initially drew me to the language. Like there's a writing part that's small and you can definitely skip it, and a lot of people just kind of do it as don't pay attention to it and just literally skip it because it's so few points. However, the writing, the meditative part of the writing that I actually talked about in a recent interview that's not available yet, but will be in the next few weeks, I missed that, and so I'm going to use that opportunity to bring back that part of the practice, is the meditative drawing, as I call it, the drawing of the language. And the reading part has gotten a lot more complicated. They're doing a lot more stuff where you do the word order, which, considering my struggle with word order, is going to be really good for me because it'll really help me solidify where things are in the sentence. It's much stricter word order, which seems to happen with tonal languages, so this will really push me. So HSK3 is pushing me on the things, it's pushing me on the areas that I suck the most in, and it's pushing me on the areas that I'm the most interested in. So it's really good, and I do not want to rush. I could, now given that score and given the pace I'm going, and given with the review of HSK1 and HSK2 grammar, I don't think I need to bear down, every pun intended, for those who also have been to or are going to U of A in the United States. I'm not going to over-explain that. It's a motto for a college. There we go. I don't think I need to. I will constantly be reviewing and checking all that stuff, but it's not as huge of a project as I thought. So I need to calm the hell down. I need to understand that something that I'm doing is working. I, even just within the past few weeks when I started to really, really read the HSK 3 stuff, without the pinyin, I've gotten a lot better at reading. Not at showing you, which is kind of the flaw of this medium, because I think when I read out loud, I'm concentrating on the meaning and being able to identify the words. And I think what happens is because of this medium, you guys hear the sounds, which are really awful, and I'll take full accountability for that. And so it's slightly distracting. Like, I'm focusing on the meaning, you're probably focusing on the sounds, because if you can't understand it verbally, then, what are you doing? That's terrible. Nobody's going to understand you. But again, I'm focusing on reading. So, I don't know how to show you, I don't know how to document my reading without verbally saying stuff as I'm going through it. I don't want to get into the habit of following it with my finger and telling you the English, because that is something I want to get out of the mode of. I want to, even if it sounds, it's basically unintelligible sounds in Chinese for now until I get enough input for it to get better. I don't want it to be the English. I don't want to get used to just automatically translating, because I want to eventually get to the point where I'm thinking in Chinese. So I don't know, I may just have to document it less often, as to not torture you guys and as to not torture me from the sound feedback, which is appreciated but not really where I'm putting my emphasis right now. So, and it just gets frustrating because I'm excited that I can read and you're tortured that you have to listen to the crappy sounds that are coming out of my mouth. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. I could conceivably, I think, now take the HSK 3 test in December, but I think I'm still going to wait. It's in my calendar now to make a decision in September, because there's still heaps of review I want to do. I want to get more of the trends of the grammar under my belt. I want to get that study system under my belt. I want to get a writing practice under my belt. There's still a few more things I want to do this summer before I solidify when to take the test. Once that happens, I could conceivably do 1 to 2 chapters of HSK 3 a week, and catch up pretty quickly, I think. But I don't want to do that yet, and I don't want to commit to that yet. I really like doing 1 chapter of HSK 3 a week. Actually, the first 2 chapters, honestly, I've spent about 2 weeks on each, because I'm easing into. I'm not. It actually doesn't feel like I'm easing into it at all. I'm spending a lot of time on it because there is that drastic shift to just the Hanzi characters, which I love that the pinyin's mostly gone. So yeah. So I'm spending a lot of time on it now, but I envision I'll probably speed up and do 1 to 2 chapters a week when I get closer. If I need to, if I want to. If that feels like it feeds my brain but doesn't overwhelm my brain, that's what I'll do. So I could conceivably take the test in December, but I don't know that I need to. So I'll just put that off till September. Come September, I will make many, many decisions. But right now, my decision is I must stop being very hard on myself. I must understand that this mountain is gigantic, and I need to give myself credit where credit is due. There are things that I suck at, there are things that I'm good at, and the biggest thing of all is that I keep going forward, because if I keep going forward at my current pace, I will get to where I want to go. That is abundantly clear at this point. I still don't know what fluency tastes like. And I mostly mean reading fluency, but speaking fluency inevitably will come as well. And I will... Oh, I've got a whole other listening video that I need to make. I found some really good radio channels to listen to more of the language, whether I understand it or not. I know it's incomprehensible input, but I'm listening for things that I know, so I want to hear those sounds in the wild. Anyway, well, I just ruined that video. So I've got a few things under wraps that, not even under wraps, because I just told you, I'm excited. Language tests do not say everything about what you're doing and how far you've gone, but they do say something. So somewhere in that middle ground, the biggest takeaway for me from this is that I'm evening out my reading and listening skills. And those, to be honest with you, are the two biggest things that I really, really, really want to have in the end. I want to be able to consume written content. I want to be able to consume sound content. I love podcasts in English. I would love to be able to listen to podcasts, not even just very polished, very corporately produced podcasts, although there might be some of that too, depending on the topic. But I'd really like to listen to podcasts coming from the average Joe in the world speaking in Mandarin Chinese. Just the regular person who's talking about a topic that is very interesting to me, but in Putonghua. That would be very, very interesting for me. I'm pretty far away from being there, but I can see that as a sub-goal that was probably in the back of my mind the whole time, but that I haven't explicitly said. I really do want to replicate the things I enjoy doing in the English language. I want to do those in other languages. And since I'm working on Mandarin Chinese, I certainly want to do that now. I'm listening to a few different podcasts from Chinese locals. That sounds weird considering there's so many people in China. Why am I saying Chinese locals? I don't know. I'm listening to a number of podcasts right now from Chinese people about Chinese issues in English. And that is a band-aid right now. And if you want any recommendations, just send me some social media stuff and I'll let you know a few of them. I need to go into my podcast app to find them, and right now I just want to get back to editing the podcast I'm making. But, what was my point? Oh, but I would like to switch over to listening to podcasts in Chinese also about Chinese issues and things and just perspectives and art stuff like books and movies and different things and interviews. I'd love to listen to interviews in Chinese with prominent Chinese artists and whatnot, and writers and all kinds of stuff. So a lot of the art stuff I do in English, I'd like to, or creative stuff I do in English, I'd like to hear from the different perspective through the Chinese language. So that's like a second goal, but it's there. So I'm really excited that despite how frustrating I am that my production skills are really slow, I'm going to be very, very proud that my receptive skills seem to be much better than I give them credit for. At least in an ABC format that a Scantron picks up on. But I don't want to downplay it, because that was really hard test, and this whole process is incredibly challenging. So I want to give myself credit where credit is due. It's been over a year. I've taken the HSK2 test. I do not have to retake it. Thank goodness for that. And my self-study techniques with all of the resources that are available online and offline. So I'm not teaching myself. I'm using other people's tried and true materials to teach myself. So it definitely is not a one-person job. But I'm very, very excited and very relieved. And I think I have to go dance around the apartment for a minute now before I get back to work, because I just did not see those scores coming at all. I was seriously chanting 60, 60, 60 because I just wanted to pass. And I'm not being modest. I truly thought that I failed it. But yeah. Wow. Wow. Okay. So, yep, that's my HSK2 test results. Reaction. 再见。